Hello and welcome to Lore of the Cards, the series that looks to find the lore hidden in your Hearthstone deck. Today's card had the Hearthstone lore fans buzzing with excitement upon its reveal, the Ancient One. That was until we realised the card basically had no lore. Surely I couldn't do a whole episode on it, right? You haven't been watching this series very long, have you? The art of the card is by Wei Wang. Wang is one of the Sons of the Storm, an in-house team of Blizzard artists. Originating from China, he is my favourite of the Sons of the Storm, and actually one of my favourite artists full stop. He has created some of the most iconic images for so many of Blizzard's major lore characters, and his art is regularly used for promotional and box art. Wang has produced images of Deathwing, Kerrigan, the Lich King, Diablo, Grommash and Garrosh Hellscream, Illidan, Velen, and the list goes on. What do we know about the Ancient One? The only morsel of lore we have is from a Game Informer interview with Ben Brode, in which he is quoted as saying, "The old gods, even while chained beneath the crust of Azeroth, led massive armies and empowered fearsome generals. The Ancient One was vanquished long ago, but it is hard to keep the minions of the old gods down, and with enough of its blood, you can herald the return of the old god's greatest creation." Not much to go on, but we can pull apart this sentence, read between the lines, and do a little bit of theory crafting, as well as learn some old gods related lore as we go. The old gods are creations of the Void Lords. The Lords created these eldritch horrors for a singular purpose, to find and corrupt one of the titans that strode through the great dark beyond. Coveting the titans' power, the Void Lords had tried to take control of them from the Void, their own plane of existence, but to no avail. Unable to manifest in the physical universe, at least not for long, the Void Lords created the Old Gods, parasites that would latch on to an infant titan and corrupt it before it awoke. Before the titans were majestic giants, they were planets, their soul dreaming within the core. The four old gods Cthulhu, N'Zoth, Y'Shaarj and Yogg-Saron slammed into a planet that would come to be known as Azeroth. Within this planet, a truly mighty world soul slept. Corruption seeped from their giant forms as their tendrils burrowed into the soil, hungrily seeking out the world soul. It was not just the shadows of despair and darkness that the old gods cast over the world. Organic matter seeped from their hulking forms, giving life to two misbegotten races, the Aqir and N'Raqi, which would aid their creators in the creation of their Black Empire. The Aqir were insectoids, strong and resilient. They made the perfect workforce, erecting towers and temples underneath the shadows of their masters. The cunning N'Raqi, also known as the Faceless Ones, acted as the Aqir's taskmasters with ruthless efficiency, ensuring their masters' influence extended over the entire surface of Azeroth. Among the N'Raqi were powerful individuals, the generals that led the old gods' armies, the Kathraxi. Not only were the Kathraxi bigger and more powerful than the others of their kind, but many exhibited different physical features as well, such as claws and armour plating. Brode states that the Ancient One is an empowered, fearsome general. It seems likely that the Ancient One is a Kathraxi, warped nearly beyond recognition by the sheer quantity of power the old gods blessed it with. Like all Kathraxi, the Ancient One shares a common feature with lesser N'Raqi, a face adorned by tentacles. Perhaps the basis of the Ancient One is not just the N'Raqi. Surely for the old gods to create their most powerful general, they would need to utilise everything in their arsenal. Maybe the Ancient One is an Aqir-N'Raqi hybrid, splicing the resilience of the Aqir and the cunning of the N'Raqi. It's not a suggestion that's outside the realms of possibility. Ancient One does have some insectoid-like features, 6 arms and many eyes. Brode's statement also gives us another interesting nugget of information. The old gods, even while chained beneath the crust of Azeroth, led massive armies. This would suggest that the old gods created the Ancient One after they lost their war with the Titans, bested by the giants' Titan-forged armies and imprisoned. The old gods were not content to merely rot in prison, and constantly schemed and prepared to escape. From what Brode said, it would appear it was around this time they empowered the Ancient One. The maddening whispers of Yogg-Saron were able to reach the ears of one of the most powerful Titan-forged, a Watcher. Loken's increased paranoia led him to turn on the other Watchers, delivering many to Yogg-Saron's influence. 2 Watchers, Tyr and Arcadus, fled from Ulduar, the city in which Loken had locked himself. Fearful that the other two Watchers would one day overthrow him, or tell the Titans, who had left the world to the Watchers, of his betrayal, Loken did the unthinkable. He released two of Yogg-Saron's Cathraxi, Zakaj and Kael'Thas. Loken commanded the two Faceless to hunt Tyr and Kael'Thas. Sensing their master's taint upon Loken, the Faceless did as he instructed. The Cathraxi was successful in killing Tyr, who had separated from his allies to deal with the Faceless. Tyr had been strong enough to slay Zakaj and gravely wound Kael'Thas before his death, and Kael'Thas needed to give up his pursuit of Kael'Thas and find a place to recover. He would later rise, 16,000 years before the Orcs arrived on Azeroth, bringing war to the world. I mention this as the Ancient One may have been like Zakaj and Kael'Thas, released by Loken to perform some horrific act. However, it would appear the Old God's most powerful servant was cut down before it could perform any deeds worth noting in the chronicles of history, merely being reduced to sentient globules of blood. Of course, the Ancient One could be its own unique breed of creature, one the Old Gods have been able to formulate during their long years of captivity. We have evidence to show that the Old Gods' minions are not just Akir and Naraki. During Warcraft 3's expansion, The Frozen Throne, players came into contact with the Forgotten One. The Lich King is one of the greatest villains the world of Azeroth has ever known, his undead scourge once sweeping through and dominating the continent of Northrend and the upper half of the Eastern Kingdoms. However, the Lich King came under threat from the Night Elf demon mongrel, Illidan's Stormrage. The demon hunter led an army of Naga and Blood Elves into the king's very own kingdom in the frozen wastes of Northrend. Having already been weakened by a previous attack from Illidan, the Lich King reached out to his greatest champion, the corrupted prince, Arthas Menethil. The Death Knight travelled to Northrend, where he met the Crypt Lord, Anub'arak. Knowing they needed to catch up to Illidan, Anub'arak suggested Arthas' forces take a shortcut to the Lich King's throne, through the subterranean kingdom of Azjol-Nerub. Anub'arak was once king of this underground network, but was overthrown when the Lich King's scourge defeated his people. The Nerubians now served the Lich King in undeath. Azjol-Nerub was a kingdom wrought with danger. Living Nerubians that hated the scourge still called it home, and the burrows were littered with traps. These could not prepare Arthas and Anub'arak for the greatest danger of all. For his first attack, Illidan had used an artifact called the Eye of Sargeras to shake the very foundations of Northrend, sinking the whole continent and the Lich King to the bottom of the ocean. He failed. But the Quakes had brought others to Azjol-Nerub, the Faceless Ones, far more powerful than mere traps and Nerubians. Arthas, with great difficulty, was able to cut through the powerful servants of the Old Gods, but the closer he came to his destination, the more unsettling things became. Not only did Faceless Ones stand before the traitor prince, but giant muscular tentacles burst from the stone floor to lash out at Arthas and his allies. It wasn't long before Arthas discovered the origin of these tentacles, a mound of flesh and eyes, which Anub'arak referred to as a Forgotten One. It used to be thought that this could possibly be an Old God, having some visual similarities to Cthulhu. But with the release of Chronicles, we know this not to be true, as it confirms the existence of only 4 Old Gods. So, the Forgotten One must have been a minion of the Old Gods, maybe like the Ancient One, created during the Old Gods' imprisonment, as there is no mention of this type of creature in the Chronicles book. Either way, we know this creature to be very powerful, as it took the joint strength of 2 of Azeroth's greatest champions, Arthas and Anub'arak, to kill it. Warcraft 3 is the only confirmed sighting of a Forgotten One, evidence that the Old Gods may in fact have one-off unique species within the ranks of their armies. There are a few creatures that are suspected Forgotten Ones in World of Warcraft, though their visual design has changed. Ysarath, Golrath and Shuma. Ysarath was discovered in a later levelling zone of the Cataclysm expansion, the Twilight Highlands. A cult that worships the Old Gods, the Twilight's Hammer, were attempting to raise the monster from the earth. Before Ysarath could emerge fully, heroes travelled into the jaws of the beast and destroyed it from within. Golrath and Shuma were found in the expansion's final raid, Dragonsoul, as the tool of the Old Gods, Deathwing, attacked Wormrest Temple, sacred meeting place of the dragon aspects. The 2 beasts spewed Faceless onto the battlefield and protected 2 key Faceless generals within their bodies, Zonoz and Yorsaj. What is quite interesting with two of these presumed forgotten ones, Isorath and Shumar, is that their blood is sentient and defends the great creatures when they are attacked from within. Could these beasts also have influenced the Old Gods' design for the Ancient One? Living blood would appear to be quite common amongst the Old Gods' most powerful servants. The living blood of Deathwing can be found in two places. One is in the elemental plane of Deepholm, where Deathwing recovered from brutal injuries at the hands of the other aspects. After Deathwing left the realm, the members of the Twilight's Hammer left behind brought life to Deathwing's blood, which they drew power from. The shamanistic Earthen Ring destroyed this living blood to gather samples of Deathwing's blood. Before his corruption at the hands of the Old Gods, Deathwing was Neltharion, the black dragon aspect. The Earthen Ring wanted to find out if the blood could tell them if there was anything left of the dragon once known as the Earthwarder within Deathwing. The blood was rank with corruption, the Earthen Ring unable to draw any of the Earthwarder's essence from it. Within the Dragon Soul raid, Deathwing's blood lives again. Only this time, it spews from his body, already alive, as heroes attempt to peel away the metal plates upon the dragon's spine. As Brode would appear to hint in his statement, only the most powerful servants of the Old Gods would have this living blood. The Ancient One is the only Old God minion that can reform if enough of its blood gathers in one place. So, there you have it, a little theory crafting on the Ancient One. This episode was a bit different from the norm, so I hope you all enjoyed. I tried to get in some good chunks of general lore too. If you've enjoyed the art, all the links I can find to the artists are in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, why not empower the 6 Gamers by liking, subscribing and sharing it with your friends? I could do with a few extra arms. Of course, if you want us to be reduced to angry globs of blood, you can hit the dislike button. I asked you guys which Old God cards you'd like to see, and some pretty popular ones would appear to be Cho'Gall, Fandral, the Faceless, and Veclaw. These sound like good episodes to people? Anduin also seems to be a popular choice for the next hero to cover. To keep up to date with Lore of the Cards, follow us on Twitter @the6gamers and Facebook /6gamersuk. Until next time, happy Hearthstoning.